Let's make a start. The aims of the session today is preparation for the writing. We're going to see if we can spot some common mistakes, and we'll look at some tips and have some practice. Writing tips then. Let's go through some writing tips. Check, it's always a good idea, check how many marks there are for each question and how they are awarded. Divide your time up accordingly. So more marks, more time. You're going to spend more time on a longer question. Read the questions carefully. What exactly do you need to do? Make sure you understand that. And think about your style, your register, who the audience is. Something really important, certainly for the longer questions, make sure you make a plan. And don't rush your writing. If you're going to rush it, there's more likelihood that you will make mistakes. You should have enough time, so take your time to plan it out carefully and to write it carefully. And at the very end, leave time to check your work. Really, really important. It's not your language, foreign language. You need to make sure you have some time to check things through. Okay, taking question one, we've got a mixture of tier questions today. We've got one overlap question, one question from the foundation, and then another one later on in the higher as well. So a real mix. And the first one is the question one of the foundation. This is taken from the 2019 paper. And as you can see here, you have a grid and the instructions here. Write one full sentence in French for each of the headings that you've got there. So full sentences. If you don't write full sentences, so a full sentence includes a verb, you aren't going to achieve those full marks. You might just get part of the partial mark. Yeah. So for example, when I say this, we're talking j'aime les frites, not just les frites. Okay, so you need the full sentence there. J'aime, the verb there as well. Okay. So let's have a little look how the marks are awarded. So as you saw in that grid just now, there are 6 responses needed, and you have a maximum of 2 marks for each response. Okay, so top mark each time is 2. So full sentences are needed to get those 2 marks. And you need to make sure you convey the meaning. So a good degree of accuracy is needed. So if you partly give an answer, you know, you're more likely to get 1 mark, or if it's completely wrong, you'll get 0 there. Okay, so just bear that in mind when we come to look at this question here now. So there are mistakes in all of these. Not one of these is completely correct. If you have any idea where some of these mistakes are, pop a little message in the chat box. Madam Lloyd is waiting and happy to take any answers and let you know if you've spotted the mistakes. So where you go on holiday? Je allais en Italie. How you travel? Je en avion. How long you stay? 2 semaines. Your accommodation? Je logeais dans un hôtel. The weather? Il y a froid. And what you do on holiday? J'ai joué au tennis. So any ideas? Maybe you have time for 1 or 2. You can always stop, pause, and pause the recording and attempt every answer in your own time. Okay. Let's take a look now at these answers. So, je vais en Italie. If we go back to this slide, the person had said je allais en Italy, I to go in Italy. So here they haven't used the present tense, okay? How you travel, je en avion. If we look at the example here, they've left the verb out. Je voyage en avion, so I travel by plane. So they have just said I in an aeroplane, okay, in a plane. So they've not put the verb in. Okay, 2 semaines, they've explained how long they stay. So some of these marks, you know, some of these answers, they're partially correct, okay, so they get part marks. So 2 semaines, but the answer here, we need a verb. Je passe 2 semaines là-bas, for example. More than one answer way of doing this. But if something like this, as long as you have a verb in here, that's really important. You have a full sentence. Now here you've got to be careful because they have a verb, your accommodation, but they've put an accent on je loge. So they've made it past tense, okay? So that's not acceptable. As you need to say I am staying, or I'm lodging, I'm in a hotel, I'm staying in a hotel. So here, je loge dans un hôtel, je reste dans un hôtel, okay? Il y a froid, it should be il fait froid here. And then what you do on holiday, again, the tense is wrong. What you do, this is the present tense here, isn't it? So, j'ai joué au tennis is the perfect tense, so that's a wrong tense. So, unfortunately, that is not correct. Okay, so answers when you have time to look through them. Have an attempt at it in your own time. Obviously, different answers are acceptable. It doesn't have to be Italy and an aeroplane and 2 weeks and so on, where there are lots of alternatives here. It's open to you to write what type of weather and what activity you want to say that you do. Okay, so alternatives. I've given you lots of alternatives. Even this isn't an exhaustive list, but in your own time, you can have a little look at some of the different ways you could answer these bullet points, to get your marks, to get your full marks. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, let's have a little look now at our overlap question. This is the 2019 paper again, but it's question 2 on the foundation and it's question 1 on the higher. So have a little look here at the actual question. Yeah, so instructions here. Écris au sujet de ton temps libre pour ton blog. So here we have an idea already what's going to be written about, what the topic area is. So it's temps libre. So in question 1 of the higher, or question 2 of the foundation, there are no choices. You must write about the 3 bullet points, okay? It says here, il faut inclure. It's necessary. There's no choice here. You have to include these details, these bullet points. So, tes passe-temps et tes opinions. Notice tes and opinion, tes and an S. So, more than one pastime and more than one opinion. Les activités, plural again, so they want more than one. Que tu as fait le week-end dernier. So here you've got to be aware of the tense that's being used. Also, dernier gives you a clue because it's a time indicator, isn't it? And ce que, the last bullet point here, ce que tu vas faire le week-end prochain. So again, tu vas faire, you're going to do, and le week-end prochain, so next week. It also tells you in the question how many words that you should be writing, okay? En français, bien sûr. Okay, so let's have a little look at the bullet points. Remember as well, some people think, well, should I tackle different ones at different times? It really is best to keep the bullet points in order so that you don't forget what you're doing. So you make sure you write about all 3 bullet points. If you only write about 2, you're really reducing your marks here. Okay, you need to write about all 3, and you need to write about all parts of each bullet point. So hobbies and opinions. And as I said, plurals, you need to mention more than one. You need to make sure you've got your tense right here. So the first one is talking generally, present tense, isn't it? The second bullet point is the past. And then you've got what you're going to do, prochain, next week, is going to be in the future. Yeah? Okay, so how are the marks awarded? Again, you have marks for communication and content, and you also have marks for your linguistic knowledge and accuracy. Just be aware, I've just taken the top marks here for the top bands for each area, and because this is what we're aiming for. So Really good response. You're going to have all that relevant information and opinions, aren't you? And the linguistic knowledge, you're going to have a good variety of vocabulary, and you're going to show a variety of grammatical structures as well. Yeah, so very few mistakes. You're aiming for accuracy here, making sure your register and style is correct too. Okay, so let's have a little look at what we should be including. Yeah. Écrit, so you're writing. We know it's a writing exam, so we are in the frame of mind that we're writing here. And as I said, il faut inclure, you must include, so no choice, these 3 bullet points. Okay, so include both the pastimes and opinions, like I said, more than one activity, more than one opinion, and the past tense here for the second bullet point, and we said we checked on dernier, future, for the third bullet point with prochain, with an indicator there, that's a big clue. But try to sort of gauge it so that you have roughly the same sort of number of words for each bullet point, okay? But if you're really struggling with one, you can make it up with another bullet point. But you know, try to sort of include the same sort of amount of words, okay? So stick to the word limit, okay? Because you don't want to self-penalize and start to make more mistakes. And with this overlap question, I suggest you revise in particular the perfect tense, avoir and être, you know, so that you know which verbs go with avoir, which go with être, so that you also know the past participles, certainly the irregular ones, and the future tense, yeah, irregular future tenses, you know, don't get caught out by these. You need to know your grammar. You really do need to know your tenses. You can't get away without knowing the different tenses, because the bullet points always make sure that they include different tenses, yeah? Okay, just a little quick task here. Être or avoir? What do you think? You've got some être and avoirs here. Which ones are they? This is the past tense, the perfect tense. You know, some of the key ones that get used a lot. What are you going to put here? Do we know what we put? If you've got any ideas for any of these, pop them in the chat box. Again, you can pause the recording and take more time, but even if you can just send one answer through to Madam Lloyd or 2 answers, giving you a moment or 2. Probably some clues with that bracket, isn't there, at the end? So that should give you a big clue. So perfect tense then, as I said, être, avoir. Remember, it's formed with the present tense of être or avoir, and then you have your past participle endings. Okay, let's have a little look now. Again, as I say, pause the recording if you need more time. But we're going to look through these answers. So first one is an être one, je suis allée, and whoever's speaking, remember, it's going to agree with the subject. So if you're female, you'd put an E. The next one, yeah, so I went, or j'ai fait, avoir, I did or I made something. Again, the next one is agreeing with the subject, therefore it is an être one, I arrived somewhere or I have arrived. Mettre, to put, j'ai mis, okay, irregular here. Again, je suis parti, I left. And the last one here, chosen, j'ai vu, I saw. Yeah, so some of these, just as a reminder of être and avoir, they are not an exhaustive list. You need to sort of check all the ones with être. Make sure you remember however you remember those. Yeah, lots of different ways of remembering them, aren't there? So have a little check through and remember the key thing, I think, is the agreement with the être ones. Okay, very quick look at the future here, future irregular verbs. So what are these verbs in French? Any ideas? These are, if we're using, you know, the future, what are we going to put here? Again, these have been chosen because they're irregular and they come up quite a lot. You know, so words, they're ones that you use quite often. They're all with I, these ones, but Obviously, you just change the I to he, she, we, whichever personal pronoun you want to use. Okay, any that you can think of? Yes, I know the future for this. Pop it in the chat box. Again, more time, practice this in your own time. You can pause the recording and take a bit longer time to do this. Maybe you got time to do 2 or 3. Okay, we're going to move on here and just have a quick look at these. So we've got je serai, j'écrirai, je ferai, j'irai, j'aurai, je pourrai, je devrai, je viendrai, je verrai. Careful, two R's with this one. And je boirai. Okay, and okay, we have these ones, they're irregular. But do we remember all of the endings for the future? So that again, that is something to revise and to learn off by heart. Yeah, so check you know the endings for the future and so on. So really important, the verbs, the tenses, so important here with this exam. This next activity here involves just an example, some example answers to the bullet points we just saw just now. Yeah. So tes passe-temps et tes opinions, les activités que tu as faites le week-end dernier, ce que tu vas faire le week-end prochain. So have a little look here at matching up now. A, B, C. So you've got the example answers really to these bullet points, but they're not in the right order. Can you work out which one goes where? So réponse here, you could give an answer to Madame Lloyd, if you can match them up for me. Numéro 1, is it A, B ou C? 2, A, B, C. 3, A, B ou C. Trouvez les partenaires, trouvez les pairs, oui. Answers in the chat box. Homing in on time indicators, tenses. Again, need more time. Pause the recording and take a bit longer. Let's go through these then. So we have here. We'll do it in order of the letters a moment. So le week-end dernier, that should give us a clue, shouldn't it? Yeah, dernier. And you've also got the tense here. Je suis allée au café, je suis allée en ville, j'ai fait du shopping. So we have quite a number of past tenses here. Je suis allée, j'ai fait. Yeah, nous avons regardé. On a vu, we had that just now, didn't we? Je l'ai trouvé effrayant. And also we have dernier, so that is showing us that that's a clue, isn't it? A time indicator, so we know it means last. So it's the bullet point which is talking about the past, and that is numéro 2. Les activités que tu as faites le week-end dernier. Okay, so it's all about activities in here, isn't it? Okay, B, big clue here right at the start, le week-end prochain. Yeah, prochain here, so that's your time indicator. and the person's going to do something. Je vais visiter. Remember, we can do that for the future. We can say, I'm going to do something with the infinitive, or you can use the future tense, nous irons voir. We're going to see. On mangera dans un restaurant chinois. Et s'il fait beau, on ira à la plage. Yeah, so all future tenses there. Yeah, so it's the weekend. It's next weekend. So that is going to be le weekend prochain. Ça, c'est numéro 3. And then normalement le weekend. Normally on the weekend. So normally what I do, this is tending to be the present here. We've got the present tense. I do this. I love that. I find this, and I find this very relaxing. It is very relaxing. Quand il fait beau, when it's fine, present tense, je fais souvent une promenade. So I go for a walk. Faire une promenade, yeah. So we faire une promenade, to go for a walk, or se promener, yeah. And then c'est vraiment super, it is. So all, or for say, it's all in the present tense, yeah. So hopefully those answers are what you just had. Yeah, you got those replies, the réponse rather. Un c'est, deux is A, trois is B. Okay. Question 2 now. Let's move on to question 2, which is 2A or B. Yeah, question 2 higher. This is just going to be specifically for the higher paper now. Écris un article pour un magazine français sur un des thèmes suivants. So choose either, it says, or. Yeah, very important. You don't do both here. Yeah, so you have some choice on your on this question. Well, the question 2. Yeah, this time it's the last question, isn't it? Because after that comes the translation, and we don't have that this year. So question 2, you have some choice. You need to give information, and you're going to justify examples, and you're going to justify your opinions as well. Yeah. So le tourisme. Les avantages de partir en vacances, les aspects négatifs du tourisme, où tu voudrais aller en vacances à l'avenir et pourquoi. Or you've got la région locale, les avantages d'habiter dans ta région, les aspects négatifs de ta région, où tu voudrais habiter à l'avenir et pourquoi. Have a good read. And think about which one do you think you could answer, in the best way? Which do you have more information? Which one do you feel more comfortable with? Do you know more vocabulary for one of the areas compared to the other one? If you feel it's a stronger answer for you, obviously go with the one that you feel, that is a stronger answer. So 150 words, écrit environ 150 mots en français, 150 words en français. Remember, it's all French. This is the writing, so everything you're doing is in French for this paper. Yeah. One thing to be aware of is that in a moment you are including all of your bullet points. Okay, you have 3 bullet points to include, and all aspects of each bullet point needs to be addressed. Yeah. Check the accuracy of your French, your agreements, your verbs, your tenses, your genders, and so on. But you do have a little bit of choice here. Tu peux utiliser les points comme une aide. So you can use the points for help. Okay, most people do. But it doesn't actually mean to say if there's one bullet point there that you're finding and you're thinking, oh, I don't quite want to write that. I've got something that is relevant, but not quite that bullet point. OK, so you're not limited to the points as long as the content is relevant here. So tu peux is a slightly different from il faut, which is what you had for, the first question. Yeah, the last question on the foundation, or the first question on the higher. You must use the bullet points for that first one. Here, they're a guide. Okay, so remember to include accurate grammar structures. Your structures must be accurate. They're looking for accuracy. They're looking for complex extended sentences. And they're also wanting you to include conjunctions, pronouns, adverbs, verbs, adjectives, superlatives, comparatives, all these things, the intensifiers. They want that language really rich and interesting, yeah? High register. So give opinions and justify them. So it's no good, it's partly, okay, it's part of it. It's a good thing to include your opinions, but you really must justify them as well. Give reasons why you think something. So you need to justify them to get more marks, okay? So it's not just the opinion, but it's justifying that opinion. Why do you think something, or why do you don't you like something? And make sure that your writing is appropriate for the audience. Who is it written for? They will tell you who it's written for. So is it a formal piece? Is it you writing to a pen friend? Okay, formal, informal. How have you used your correct tenses? Make sure your tenses are correct. Did you put the present, but you meant to put the past, and so on? Check through it all. So have you used a variety of tenses? Now, at least one, more than one rather, tense, okay? So 2, 3, if you can use more than that, absolutely brilliant, okay? So a variety of tenses is really important, and be consistent, don't sort of suddenly spell something, a word you use more than once differently, okay? So make sure your spelling is consistent throughout. Plan it first. This is one to be planning, okay? These longer ones, the overlap question and this one really needs some planning, okay? So make sure you've got enough ideas. And let's have a little look at how the marks are awarded here. So you have these top marks here, okay? And the communication and content is out of 18. And then you also have linguistic knowledge and accuracy. So an excellent response is going to get these top marks, yeah? So you're looking at band 5, hopefully you're aiming for this high band. So making sure you have relevant, you're answering the question. It's no good just learning something pre-wrote and thinking, I'm just going to write about this. You've got to make sure it answers the question, yeah? So the topic area, whatever the bullet points are. Very detailed information presented in relation to the task. So they're looking for the detail, yeah? They're looking for your ideas, your facts, your opinion. And again, are they appropriate? Are they clearly expressed and justified? Can we understand what you're saying? There must be some accuracy here, a high level of accuracy, and you're justifying, you're giving reasons for things, yeah? So absolute, no doubt about it. For these top marks, communication needs to be really clear, no ambiguity, so it's got to be, understandable, yeah? So a very good variety of vocabulary too for the knowledge, linguistic knowledge and accuracy. So they're looking for grammatical structures that are going to be all, variety of structures, including complex structures, yeah? High level of accuracy, references to the past, the present and the future, really important to make sure you have these tenses and that you've got the appropriate style and register, yeah? Okay, super. Here's the planning now. Plan that time. Take that time to plan your essay, your writing. You have time to do this, so do so. Otherwise, you're going to find it's not going to be coherent. Yeah. So a planned essay, you make sure you've got enough to write about, but also it's going to, you're going to write it in an orderly way. So before you begin, think about what you're going to include. Do you have enough details to write about? So if not, maybe you need to, have a look at the other choice. So make sure that you have chosen the essay, which, or the writing rather, the task which you have enough information on. Okay, 150 words en français. So choice of question, not both. So please don't scramble together 2 answers. Yeah, you don't need to. It's either or. Some people in the heat of the moment, they forget and they write 2 answers. You take your time. You only need to write about 1 of these questions. It's either 2A or 2B. And today I thought, well, let's have a little look at 2B, which is la région locale, les avantages d'habiter dans ta région et les aspects négatifs de ta région. Où tu voudrais habiter à l'avenir et pourquoi? Okay, so here we're giving information and examples, we're giving opinions, and we're giving reasons for these opinions. So this first bullet point, if we look at it, it is les avantages here. So we're looking at positive, aren't we? Advantages of living in this area, this region. With the second bullet point, we have negative aspects of the region, so that anything that's negative about living here. And in the third bullet point, you're talking more about what you would, where rather you would like to live in the future and why. So again, this is the justifying your opinions. Yeah. So positives and negatives, where you would like to live in the future. Yeah. So here with this bullet point, the third one, you're going to be looking at the conditional tense here, aren't you? And giving your reasons why. So those are good, you know, if you take that sort of those guidelines, I think there's quite a reasonable amount to write about here. Lots of different things you could put in, and you can show off different tenses, can't you? Yeah. There's no reason why, if you're looking at the present tense, you can bring in some past, so maybe something you did last week or last year, you know, into these first bullet points here, 1 and 2. Yeah. So when you're talking about where you would like to live, you'd like to live, that's more the conditional in that last one. So planning, so important. So we need to include information, we need to give examples, we need to give opinions, and we need to give reasons. We need to justify those opinions, give reasons why. So looking at this first bullet point, this is just a plan. This is an example plan. It's not something you have to write. Your plans might be quite different to this one, okay? But it's the sort of thing to give you an idea here. So les avantages d'habiter dans ta région. So we're looking at, remember, positive things here, aren't we? We're looking at what sort of positive things that we can write about. So if you're talking about advantages, you're not going to be putting in negative ideas here. So maybe beaucoup de choses à faire, that first one there. It might be there's lots to do. You might talk about the ville is animée, lots of it's busy, lots of things that you can do there. You might be talking about a plus point if you have amis and famille living in your town, in your area. You have lots of friends and family. Maybe your region, your area you're talking about, an advantage, it could be that it's by the seaside. Yeah. Okay. Those are your positives. What could you write about if there are negative things that you have to put in that second bullet point? So the next part of your task, you might say, so you've mentioned the seaside already, so linking into that, there might be too many tourists, trop de, too many, yeah? Surtout en été, especially in summer. You might mention some embouteillage, some traffic jams, you know, circulation, there's problems there. And these tourists, they might also cause you to have déchets par terre, some rubbish on the floor, maybe. Yeah, there might be lots of litter around. So your last bullet point then is the conditional, where you're going to be saying somewhere you would like to live in the future and why. So think of a town, a ville or village, town or village, or a country. Maybe you want to go to a completely different country. Raison pourquoi, reasons why. Yeah, so why are you wanting to do this? You've got to think of some reasons why, and you're making sure that in this last bullet point, as we've mentioned, the conditional is used. Yeah, conditionnel. Okay, fantastique. 1 or 2 slides just to help you out, because we haven't got time to write this here now, okay? But just to help you a little bit when you're coming to write this, and I suggest you do one as a practice. Try this one. You know, if you want to change the plan and you want to choose different things, you want to put different points, then do so, or you can use exactly the one I've given you. But think of some opinions here. So just a few on this slide so that you don't have to be looking things up. There's some ideas here just at your fingertips. So je pense que, je trouve que, à mon avis. So you're saying I think that, I find that, in my opinion, or pour moi, you might want to say for me, and then you might say mais pour d'autres, but for other people. There's no reason why you can't mention what other people think. It doesn't have to just be what you think. And remember, when you're talking about why, you've got parce que, because, and car. Remember not to always use parce que, use a variety. So alternate, you know, use different language. Try to vary how you bring in your opinions, so you don't repeat the same structures. On this bottom one here, you've got personnellement, but just check your spelling here. You've got 2 N's and 2 L's, yeah, personnellement. Personally, whatever you might be thinking. So again, you need to bring in opinions and you need to say why. So an opinion and because, yeah, parce que, car, and whatever it might be. Again, some key language here for positive things. Now you can change this. This will help with whatever topic area you whatever task you write, because you can start off some of these structures with these structures. You can just change some of the information. This here is to do with your towns and village, the region, but you can use some of these sentence starters for anything. So un avantage c'est que, whatever advantage it might be in relation to whatever. Yeah, so ce qui me plaît c'est, so what pleases me, what I like. Yeah, and so these are all sort of advantages you could bring in. So you obviously not going to write absolutely all of these, but you could choose some of these. Yeah, ce n'est jamais difficile de trouver quelque chose à faire. So it's never difficult to find something to do. Here you're ticking the box for having a superlative, aren't you? You know, it's the best town or it's the most beautiful village. So making sure you bring in a variety of language. En général or généralement, je suis content. Remember, depending on who's speaking, you'd have an E if you're feminine. Je suis contente de mon village. I wouldn't like to live anywhere else. Je ne voudrais pas habiter ailleurs. And then you got on the one hand and so on. Okay, so lots of advantages here on this slide. Yeah, so choose some to bring in some of your ideas, yeah, when you're planning. Negative aspects here, pourtant, cependant, however, il y a trop de, there's too much of something, yeah. So, de plus, il y a, moreover, ce qui est désagréable, déprimant, affreux, triste. Check you understand these, and lots of nice negative things if you need to use negative words for something. So désagréable, something's unpleasant, depressing, dreadful, sad. And then you've got lots of negatives here, haven't you? Like, il n'y a pas assez de, there aren't enough of, il y a peu de, there's few of something. Le problème, c'est qu'il y a trop de, and whatever it might be. Yeah, a lot of these are general structures that you can use for any topic area. Il n'y a plus de, il n'y a plus de, there's no longer something. Il n'y a rien pour les jeunes, there's nothing for young people. So you've got lots of negative constructions, structures that you can use here at the very bottom. Yeah. So use some negatives. Make sure you have some negative sentences. So this one here is really nice. Ne and then ni, where you say neither nor for something. Yeah. Okay. So just check you understand what all of those negative things are on this page here for structures, and use some of them in your writing. Now then, take a few moments to see if you can spot any conditionals. This is an example answer for the third bullet point, okay? Just taking that last one where we have to use a conditional. Where would you like to live in the future and why? So Can you spot any conditionals here? If you can, text, put them in the chat box. Text Madam Lloyd the answers. Again, you can stop pause the recording to take more time to do this. Can you see one or two? You have quite a few here because the bullet point is talking about what you would like to do and why. Okay, so like to live in France because I love this marvelous country. Yeah, so I could, so je voudrais, j'aimerais, je pourrais améliorer mon français. So you want to improve your French. So you're explaining how you want to improve your French and find a job over there. So these are reasons why you would like to go there. Conditional tense for all of these. So you've said you'd like to get a job there. You can describe that job. What would your ideal job be if you were there? And it all links, doesn't it? Sorry. So it all links to being out in France. Mon emploi idéal serait serveuse, car j'aimerais parler avec les clients. I'd like to speak with customers. Afin de, nice expression to use. In order to, améliorer is infinitive there, so in order to improve mon niveau de français, my level of French. We've got some nice opinion words. À mon avis, but you're giving an opinion. La France est un pays magique. J'aime surtout, I like especially la cuisine française, mais aussi le cinéma français. Again, and you have correct agreements with those nouns. La cuisine, extra E en français, but le cinéma masculine, so no E. Okay, just to give you an idea of an example paragraph for what you would, it's hypothetical, where you would like to live, yeah, for that last bullet point. But again, have a think. You can adapt something like this and you put your own ideas. So to summarize what we've been doing here today, address all parts of each bullet point. Remember, it is only question 2 of the higher that you can use the bullet points as a guide, so you can sort of slightly change them, provided your answers are relevant. It is key that you must make sure your answers are relevant to the title, and the bullet points they provide are relevant. So an idea to use theirs, okay, or maybe just slightly tweak them. Allocate more time to the longer questions. It's important. You have to write more, so these longer questions need more time. Check your word count, because you mustn't go over that limit. If you go over the limit, you're going to risk self-penalizing, making mistakes, and some of the work might not count either. Use a good variety of vocabulary and expressions. Make sure you use some negatives as well. Include a variety of grammatical structures, complex and accurate. Make sure you have extended sentences. Check your register. Make sure is it formal? Is it informal? What does it need to be? Make sure you include different tenses. Give opinions, justify them, give reasons why. And as we've done tonight, make a plan for the longer tasks. Make sure you do this plan. It really does pay off. And so crucial, leave time at the end to check through your work. Yeah, so that you can see if you can spot the mistakes and really look through it carefully, word by word. Look what you're reading really carefully, scrutinize it, because sometimes you make a mistake and don't realize, and it might just be a simple slight error when you're writing. Okay, so you might realize, that was a silly mistake. I didn't check it carefully. So making sure you really check carefully what you have written.